This is another good on good, man. I'm excited about this too.
Yeah, their defense is good.
Yeah.
Definitely their front seven, man.
Without a doubt.
Justin Houston, Buckner. You obviously have Darius Leonard too.
Yeah, without a doubt. They're pretty good up front, man.
This is probably the most, if you're going to take all the position groups, this is probably the most interesting matchup of like.
Oh, without a doubt, yes.
Are we going to bounce back here?
Yes.
And, Colts have been pretty consistently good at defense and stopping the run. I mean, their weakness, I guess you could say, is probably cornerbacks because they've let some receivers go off them.
And they got some guys hurt. Obviously, Malik Hooker, he's been on IR as well, man. Yep.
Yeah, because they have two young safeties back there.
I was going to say, so the safeties are Kyrie Willis and Julian Blackman, and then the two corners are Kenny Moore II and Xavier Rhodes. Now, obviously, we know Xavier... Yep. His play has been a lot better this year, but obviously at the last year or two in Minnesota, it was kind of rocky. So it's going to be interesting to see just what that looks like if he still got that going on, man.
No, 100%. Yeah. Big question: can we keep the running game going?
That's going to be key.
Like based off,
it's going to be key, but
it's weird because based off the personnel matchups, you're probably thinking our line versus their defensive line,
our line versus their front seven. Or our line / running backs against their front seven. I don't like that. What I like is our receivers versus their secondary. Right. The biggest question right now is what's Ben going to look like, right? Because we've seen, you said the past 2 games has definitely been down games for him. Less about how he's feeling, downfield passing. To me, just the simple timing stuff, right? The underneath, the drag route stuff, the timing of the ball placement, and his route. I mean, not route recognition, his coverage recognition, right? It was highlighted multiple times. We talked about it earlier in the week as well. Just him being fooled a little bit in coverage. Those are the biggest question marks to me. I'm like, if Ben is accurate and on time with his underneath passes, his short and intermediate passes, if Ben is sharp in terms of his above the net game and not allowing the coverages to fool him, I feel like that is enough to stress them out. But the problem is, like I said, man, we got to see if we can consistently do that for 4 quarters. That's the problem right now, man.
What do you think about this run game, though? I like the momentum that we had from last week, maybe going into this week. The problem is, like I mentioned, is just their defensive line and their players.
Yeah. Like,
could you somehow, maybe with Benny Snell, dude, could he be the X factor here?
I mean, I hope, but I don't have a lot of faith in it. And this is the thing, man. Like I said, you talked about it. You've seen it on tape. We're trying to convince ourselves that our running game that magically worked a little bit against the Bengals is all of a sudden going to give it to this Colts defense that we know if we were talking about passing, man, we could go there because we know they struggle a little bit on the back end. The injuries, it happens. But the thing they do really well is stop the run, man. That like their front seven is definitely the strength of that defense, man.
There was some comment I saw on one of these games I was watching. They said the only 100-yard rushers they've allowed over the past 2 years or something like that.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Just think about that, bro.
So yeah, outside of that, they're pretty damn good against the run.
So that's why for me, it's like as much as I'm excited about what the running game looked like, and as much as I would want that to happen again, I'm just having my doubts because the reason I'm torn is this too. I'm confident.
Wait, is Dotson back?
So this is the thing. So we're waiting to find out about Dotson. But even last week, they didn't solely. You're looking for your ward. It's empty.
It's empty anyway. Never mind. It's just a habit. Empty. I think it's I'm a little thirsty. I need to go for it. But no, it's empty.
But even last week, they used the mix. It was a combo of J.C. Hassner and Derwin Gray at left guard. And actually, Derwin played really well at left guard, man. He had the big Benny Snell run play. It was actually Derwin, man. He was in there moving dudes out, man. It looked good. I was surprised because obviously he's a tackle by trade.
I was going to say, can he play right tackle? We put him at right tackle. We bring in Dotson.
He was definitely a tackle, but they put him at left guard. He started rotating. I think he had about 16 snaps on the offense. Obviously, JC, I think, was at 40. It was either 38 or 40, like in that range. But yeah, they definitely started rotating those guys, man. And like I said, from the little bit that I saw with Gray in the run game, he did move some people out the way. So I was like, all right. But it was the Bengals. That's my only issue. And it's still not a shot at the Bengals. Trust me. I mean, the Bengals, they won, tip your cap to them. But if you play that game 10 times, we know how the outcome is going to be. So to me, I don't look at that performance by Benny Snell on the offensive line against the Bengals as something that I'm anticipating going forward. I look at that more as an outlier. I think that they will struggle to run the ball against this front. And that
what's success for you on the run? 60, 70 yards.
Think about this. Last week was success. We only had 80 yards rushing. Think about it. Yeah. We ended at, we ended at 87 yards, and Benny Snell had 83 of them. Or 84 of them, yeah. So it wasn't this crazy rushing, but it felt good, right? It felt effective. So to me, effective running. It could be 60 yards. It could be 80 yards. Effective running. Remember when we played Washington, right? We said they ran the ball effectively against us. They only had about 60 yards on the ground, tops. So it's not this has to be over 100, and I don't think we will get over 100 rushing. But if we can effectively run that ball, and when we talk about effective, I'm talking when it's second and short, third and short, if it's fourth and short, and we need that yard that Coach Simon always talks about, we're consistently getting those. Goal line, we need to punch it in. We saw it happen last week. That's effective running. If we need to, off tempo, give them a draw run, off tempo, counter run. That's effective running. Just to keep them on schedule.
It was working last week, dude.
So to me, it doesn't have to be crazy, just effective, because effective is going to make them have to play us honest. If they play us honest, we can take advantage of them in the from a passing standpoint. Our receivers are going to give their corners trouble. Our receivers gave the Bengals trouble. We know this. They're there. They're good to go. They're ready to go. The two things we're going to have to look at. Number one is Ben. Like I said, what is he going to look like coming in this game after back-to-back less than good performances, right? Or for his standards. Yo, less than good.
You painted that pretty good, huh?
For his standards.
Than good.
Less than good. We always got to sound full.
You're dealing with the Ben fanatic here. You gotta soften the blow, huh?
But that's the first part. And then the second reason why I said I'm still a little 50-50 with the run, in terms of not even 50-50, but another reason why I don't feel very optimistic about it is if James Conner is available, I don't know what's his full extent of that. Because remember last week, he was a late scratch in terms of not being able to play, dealing with the thigh injury, right? Coming back, we know this is going to be a physical game. If you go out there, it's going to be physical. I don't want the scenario where it's like Cleveland last year on the Thursday night game where we have a plan for James to use him.
It's happened how many games?
Multiple times, right? Yeah. So that's, to me, because we know for a fact they will formulate a plan around James being out there. And then if James goes out there for the first two series or the first quarter and the leg isn't where it needs to be, he gets hit again. Now we're stuck. Now we're trying to use Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels and McFarland for stuff that you had designed for James, and it's just not going to work out the way it's supposed to. So that's another reason why I don't feel as optimistic about the running game versus this particular defense.
Yeah.
Man.
That's why I'm feeling we just roll with Benny Snell. But it's still early in the week. We got to see what Connor's injury report is and stuff.
Absolutely, man.
Dude, I'm good with just rolling Snell rest of the year. I really am. But yeah,
I'm not opposed to it, man. We talked about that too.
We talked about this last podcast. Yeah, dude. I think you hit everything though. Like if our receivers can win these matchups, Ben plays a better game. Yeah. Our line, I'm not that confident in our line. If we get Dotson, I love Dotson, man.
I know you bring him up a lot. You a Dotson guy. I'm with you.
So hopefully, if he comes back, man, yeah, that'd be great.
For me, oh man, I'm excited. I am still excited about this matchup, man. I just, when it comes to offensive line, just keep 7 clean. Like I don't want to say that I've lost hope with the run game, even though they had a good performance against the Bengals. It's just this matchup against this Colts defense.
We got 2 matchups here. Yeah, 2 good matchups coming up.
That's the difference, man. So for me, keep 7 clean. I'm putting my eggs in the 7 being good basket. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We're going to live and we're going to die. We said that at the beginning of the year.
And that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah. Like I told you on the last one, I think the only way to go is up, and I'm optimistic about it. I don't know, because we could talk about their personnel versus our personnel, the X's and O's and stuff like that, based off these past 2 games. Anyone, that has watched it and is looking at reality, it's like, all right, we haven't looked good, but there's always there's always weird flips of switch with the NFL. Like you can't explain, like, bro, wow, now we're on a hot streak here for these next 4 or 5 games. That kind of stuff happens in the NFL. Like someone was bringing this up. I was on some type of message board. They said the Saints, when they won the Super Bowl, they lost 3 games in a row, something like that. I think it had more or less to do with like they already locked up their division and were resting and everything like that. But dude, it happens. It happens in the NFL. Losing streaks happen, and then all of a sudden, winning streaks can happen. That's why I'm keeping the faith.
And that segment was brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbooking app. Not only is it safe, but it's secure and reliable. But Deke, we do know that, unfortunately, fantasy football, or not even fantasy football, but sports booking isn't allowed everywhere. But we do know something that is, and that is fantasy football, since I just said it. And you like fantasy football.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You get to create your own team.
It's playoff time, too, for some leagues.
Yeah.
And let me tell you about fantasy. Can I tell you about what DraftKings doing, man?
Sure, go for it.
So they got this fantasy football app, right? Where they're giving out $1 million in prizes every single week. I mean, just think about that.
It changed my life.
Just let that marinate for a second. $1 million in prizes every week. DraftKings doing something awesome. So make sure you download both of the apps, but more importantly, make sure you use the promo code Moats so you can receive your $1,000 in deposit bonus money and get an opportunity to make a little money.